Before, what we're seeing here is a prime minister, a legislator, asking the court to strike out Section 14(5) of the Corruption Prevention Act, which is a section that establishes the offense of illicit enrichment.
Yes, man, you know, I villagers I represent for Trillionaire Entertainment TV, one of the baddest in entertainment. You see, chap, but.
Supporters of the PNP created a party atmosphere in sections of Port Antonio, Portland on Wednesday as they joined Isat Buchanan on a tour of the parish capital. Town cars also echoed in the streets with jingles signaling his campaign is already on the way.
Look how we look good and clean. Member of Parliament to be. Time come. God and time. And we say Isat Buchanan.
I'm enjoying the moment so far, and I'm very grateful and honored that the people are welcoming me the way that I never expected.
Coming to East Portland, was that easy decision for you?
It was an easy decision. I was called by the people. In terms of representation, they will not get disappointment. So they will expect somebody who will show up. They will expect somebody who will act. They will expect somebody who will listen. And they will expect somebody who will elevate. That is what I represent. Rehabilitation, elevation, and the possibilities are endless.
It's been a revolving door of PNP candidates in recent years in Eastern Portland. Mr. Buchanan is the third since 2019 as the PNP struggles to find a strong candidate to try and retake the reins from Anne-Marie Vaz of the JLP. The latest PNP representative to call it quits was Colin Bell, a man known as Shaka fame to many people in Portland. Now his replacement, Buchanan, has risen to relative fame in the last few years due to his successful legal representation of dancehall superstar Vybz Kartel in his murder matter. It's a reality many observers feel could open the doors to some younger dancehall-loving voters for him. But that's not the only legal matter gaining focus since Buchanan's entrance into the political arena. The JLP's leadership says the PNP's fielding of Mr. Buchanan has damaged their credibility to speak on matters of integrity, crime, corruption, and morals, and reinforces the PNP cannot be trusted to lead Jamaica. In a release on Wednesday, the JLP outlined that Mr. Buchanan is a man who served hard time in Jamaica and the USA for drug-related offenses, including cocaine. The JLP says while they believe in rehabilitation, the recent crude comment directed at the DPP by Mr. Buchanan is a reminder that his unbecoming conduct and poor judgment are not things of the past. The PNP supporters who joined him on Wednesday, though, appeared unfazed by his problematic past. They argued Mr. Buchanan has a good chance of winning the seat as his competitors not delivered sufficiently. Infrastructure issues were among their main criticisms of the current representative.
They push them at everything higher than cost of living. The carpet them what else them a give away. The carpet strand them a drop out and the pavement not done.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
We are not by the Prime Minister. That is not a matter.
Member, there's
We have, and myself particularly as Speaker, have repeated on many occasions that things need to get to the Parliament with adequate time so that we can read and we can ensure we follow the proper procedures. We were in fact notified by email that a motion would come, but it didn't come until just before I got to Parliament. And it does take some time to review and ensure that motions are properly laid. A signed copy of the motion came to me at the desk when Member Paulwell came to the desk during the sitting of the Parliament. And I just came out for a moment a while ago, and I note the opposition walking out. I was coming back to tell them I'd gone out because I was just completing my review so that they could go ahead and debate if they so choose. However, even though they heard as much, they continued to walk out.
First of all, what are some of the reasons given by the lawyers for this judicial review?
I think a better question might be, what are not some of the reasons? Because the lawyers and Mr. Holness have thrown the entire kitchen sink at this application to apply for judicial review. He is alleging, and just to make the point, that judicial review is when you ask the court to exercise its supervisory power over, in this case, the Integrity Commission. So they want the Integrity Commission, they want the Supreme Court to make a number of orders and declarations. Essentially, they want the report struck out, except for the part in which the Director of Corruption Prosecution says that no charges should be laid against Mr. Holness. They want declarations that the Integrity Commission acted outside of its powers, that it acted unlawfully, a whole bunch of declarations. And they're saying this on the basis of the fact that they're saying that the Integrity Commission acted unfairly in relation to its investigation into the statutory declaration. They're saying there was illegality here. They're saying that the Integrity Commission acted ultra vires, means outside of its statutory powers, and they're also alleging breaches of constitutional rights. They're saying the Integrity Commission breached privacy laws, breached the data protection law. They're also very, very interesting. I don't think I've seen this before. What we're seeing here is a Prime Minister, a legislator, asking the court to strike out Section 14(5) of the Corruption Prevention Act, which is a section that establishes the offense of illicit enrichment.
Oh my goodness. So we have so much to get through, but I want to go back to that earlier story where the opposition attempted to move a motion of no confidence, and one of the reasons given is that the matter is sub judice. What can you tell us about that?
I tell you something. I generally think that the sub judice rule, in terms of how we interpret in Jamaica, meaning before the court, therefore you shouldn't discuss it, that the whole thing needs to be revisited. I think it's a way of shutting down legitimate discussion. Having said that, I actually agree with Deputy Speaker Clark, not on the basis of the fact that it's sub judice per se, but on the basis of the separation of powers. The Parliament and the courts are also always very careful not to seem to be intruding on each other's jurisdiction. And in a case where a matter now is before the court, it's inevitable that if there is a debate on that no confidence motion in respect to Mr. Holness and how he acted in relation to this investigation, they are going to get into discussing matters that the court is going to be considering, and I can understand that the Parliament would want to steer clear of that.
And all of this is also happening at a time when the commissioners of the Integrity Commission will face the Joint Select Committee looking at the amendments to the Integrity Commission Act 2017. What this now means for the discussions tomorrow?
Well, I did read earlier that the meeting had been pushed back perhaps to sometime next week, but as you know, Janella, we were hoping that the commissioners would now come and explain what they did in relation to this report, why it came out, how it came out, you know, why they didn't bring in the FID and tax admin before. All those questions we were hoping would have been answered. But I think with this matter now being before the court, I am going to go out on a limb and say it's almost inevitable that the commissioners are going to refuse to answer any questions in relation to the report because, as you said, the matter is now before the court. They're now going to have to defend all of this.
Extraordinary statement there, which says, and I quote, Mr. President, Jamaica currently has a booming economy, end quote. Now, he said that, and it's in his text. So I would really like the Minister, Madam President, to give us some specific data to support his statement, because it is certainly inconsistent with the publications by PIOJ, by Statin, and the forecast given by the Bank of Jamaica
in its last briefing, last quarterly briefing. So specifically, the PIOJ released the second quarter growth figures, which show an economy that's stalled. Its estimate, its preliminary estimate, is 0.1%. The preliminary estimate for growth in the quarter ending June 2024 is 0.1%.
Over 100? 0.1 over 100?
0.1%. Right? Less than 1%. 1/10 of 1%. And we know that these figures are often revised downwards.
Yes.
Can be revised upwards as well, but they're often revised downwards. And I want to, for emphasis, to say this did not include the impact of burial, because this would have been up to June 30th. So we hadn't seen the burial impact at that point. But in fact, if you graph the last 8 or so quarters, from 2 years prior, ending in the quarter ending June, you will see a steady downward decline. Since that quarter, and since that publication, the Bank of Jamaica has forecast that there will be negative growth in this quarter, ending September. They have predicted there will be negative growth, a decline in the economy. And I think there's a fairly strong chance that the second half of this year, the economy will be in recession. You know, I realized the minister was really scratching for something positive when he celebrated a cafe at UA opening. A cafe at UA opening, the investment value of approximately a 2-bedroom house, a 2-bedroom scheme house. I know that he was struggling. There are many more 2-bedroom houses that you could probably announce one by one. That costs 30 million, Minister. But it doesn't, all of these figures, all of these I've quoted from reputable sources, not gaslighting sources, reputable sources, not known to be gaslighters. All of that data from the World Bank Group, from Statin, from PIOJ, from BOJ, all that data contradicts your suggestion of a booming economy. Shows an economy that had stalled by the end of June and is now in decline, and quite likely could be in recession by the end of the year.